So I am very, very concerned about the young people who purchased homes in the last 3, 4, 5 years. I'm really, really concerned about the investors that came in and not necessarily the big corporations with 85,000 doors. I'm talking about, mom and pop, people who took some of their retirement money and they want to buy properties to rent out and supplement their retirement. I'm really concerned about these guys. And let me just explain why. Now, I think that our timing model has been screaming for the last few years, saying that we've peaked and we're heading down. Real estate is a very, very simple business. It's 14 years up and 4 down. Once you've identified the peak, when you get a peak, that means it isn't going any higher. And once we peaked, it's on the way down. Now, we've had some really, really extremes. We're having an extreme right now. We're doing a seminar this Thursday. We're talking about the amount of money that the European banks have put in, $5 trillion in the last 7, 8 months. That's a lot of money. And that's why we're funding our Dow and the S&P are doing so terribly well, and why the economy is going. But what this tells me is that the Europeans have no intention of paying off their debt. They're just spending like crazy and getting bonds. That's room for another video. However, this is going to cause problems, and we saw that the peak came in June, July timeframe in 2022 here in Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix, Arizona being one of the most vibrant markets in the entire world. Now, FHA is ruining it. We're going to have FHA be the new subprime. We're going to look back and say, this is exactly what happened in 2006, 7, 8, and 9. We're going to blame it on a subprime, but this time it's going to be FHA because FHA has violated their rules. So FHA is now allowing people to go over 43% of it's called the debt to income ratio. So if they're within the debt to income ratio, it's almost like a slam dunk. They're going to get the mortgage. If it's over 43% debt to income ratio, which means that all of your debts are less than 43% of your gross. Get that? Gross income, not after taxes and deductions, your gross income, you can get an FHA mortgage. And they'll allow you to go up to 51% because it's an FHA, it's an insured loan. So the lenders are very, very casual about this. They want this to happen. Now, to make matters worse, is it's only 3.5% down. That's great if you're a first-time home buyer because typically they've got no money, right? They're borrowing all the money they can, they're scrimping and saving, they're getting next month's paycheck so I can get the down payment. They've got next to nothing. And it's the American dream. I did this myself. I was so excited by my very first home. And to get to use FHA. Virtually everybody qualifies for FHA. But FHA was meant for people to get into a house. And now they've gone and extended they've denigrated the qualifications so much that they're going to be called the new subprime. So let me tell you why. Is that you can go up to 51% of your total net worth or your total payment for your house payment and your bills. Now, in the 2006, 7, and 8 timeframe when FHA was doing this, only 20% of people ever exceeded 43%. It was very, very rare that people exceed 43% because 43% is really tough. When you go beyond that, it's really, really tough. It's really, really hard. During the Biden years, FHA had up over 63% of all of their FHAs. They exceeded these rules. They violated the 43% rule. So FHA will let you go up to 47, 48, 49% of your gross for your payment. Can you imagine that? That is really hard. And it's all based on the fact that you're young, you're going to do better in your job, you're going to go up through the ranks in your career, you're going to get more hours. But now think when this was. A lot of these were done 2021, 22, when the economy was exploding. All this stimmy money, PPP, stimmy checks everywhere, money everywhere. lots and lots of liquidity. People were working, but the trend changed. Now what? So here's another thing. This is very difficult for you to understand. 3.5% down. Did I mention that it was an FHA, was an insured mortgage? Well, you have to pay for that insurance. You know how much that insurance is? 3%. And you can finance that 3%. So you put 3.5% down and you finance 3%. What's your equity position in this property? It's 0.5%. 0.5% equity position in the property is 99.95% financed. It's almost 100% financed. In a perfect world, it's just fine. Leverage really works out well for you. It's absolutely outstanding. It's just great. Are we in a perfect world? My timing model says that something is going to happen. I don't know what. It took me a long time when Dr. Nenner would talk to me. He says, "No, I have no idea what's going to happen. I just know what is going to happen. I don't know why. I just know what." So now we know what. So per our models and per our charts, we've got affordability problem. That affordability is going to be brutally resolved. And the way it resolves is prices come down. So let's explore one of the avenues I think is one of the problems. Let me go to my first slide, and let's just talk about this. Now here we are. This is so terrific. It's so productive, and it has just been one of the most. This is getting 49% of all investment and all growth is going in this section here in all of Phoenix, Arizona. It's so good that the Wall Street Journal did a documentary called "Why a 17-Mile Stretch of Arizona's Booming Logistic Hub." Now, people are offloading from California. They're getting it off the boats. They can bring it here. They can distribute it to California, but now they can reach to Texas, and they can go to New Mexico. They can go to Colorado. They can go to Nevada for about 40-50% of what they're doing it for in California. And we have like 17 buildings, industrials underway. We got 40 warehouses with more than 1 million square feet under construction. When you start hearing the fact that, oh my gosh, business is slowing down across the country. Well, that's just not the case here in Phoenix, Arizona. That is just not the case. This is going like crazy. This is just an amazing place to purchase do some business. Keep in mind that Phoenix has now gone to number 1 for manufacturing. We're no longer a construction town. Now, let me just go to my next slide, and let's just talk about what we see here. Now, this is all in Surprise. Surprise is loaded with Air Force veterans. Place is spit shine. There's no trash. There's no graffiti. Kids can walk to school. The streets are all nice and clean. Homes are clean. Manufactured. All the landscape is clean. There's good transportation, good schools, good shopping, and homes are very, very affordable. Now, this peaked right here, July of 2022. That was peak, as in it's not going any higher. You notice when we say peak, it doesn't continue going on. It's not like it just continues going. It's a cycle. It hits the peak and then it starts rolling over. And that was July of 2022 at 493. This is coming out of Zillow. They keep median sales price. Median sales price in Surprise for April of 2025 was 413. Well, it was 493. 413 now. Like 5 years later, that's $80,000. Now these kids have 0.5% of equity in the property, and from the peak to where we are now, they have nothing. All this talk about all this equity buildup, there's no equity buildup in these properties. They had 0.5%. Now they're like $70,000 underwater. Our studies say you have to, if you'd have bought in January of 2021 and afterwards, you're probably underwater. That's a lot of people. So let me tell you what's going on now. I've talked about this before. Let me just tell you what's going on now. So my idea, is that if young people purchase a brand new home and they buy it at the wrong time, it could haunt them for 10 or 15 years. They could possibly never recover. And our charts are saying there are so much better time coming, really, really close, really, really soon. Let me open this up a little bit so you can see this. Let me go to this slide and let's just talk about what's coming up now. Look at 12.29% of FHA's portfolio is delinquent. 1.2 million are delinquent. So in 2024, only 9 homes went to foreclosure, 500,000 went to workouts. I'm going to tell you, with the new administration, with the Trump administration, in the 10 weeks that they were in power from January 20th to the end of the first quarter, 92,000 foreclosures for FHA were filed. So there's been a change of trend. They're not doing foreclosure and forbearance, and loan workouts, and they're not paying your mortgage anymore. If you don't pay your bills, they're going to foreclose your house. You got to pay your bills. A lot of people abuse this, of course, and a lot has to go back to the underwriting. There's a point here. So let me get to my next point so we can talk about this and open this up a little bit for you. Now, the builders are in trouble. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. The builders are in big, big trouble. I've told you this before. A lot of these guys have, in 20 and 21, when the big explosion was going on, they didn't have enough dirt to build on. So they had to go out and buy a lot of land. And of course, land is a huge expense, and it costs you money each and every month because there's no income coming off it. And it takes you so long to develop it. You got to bring in sewers, and you got to bring in utilities, and you got to go through the cities and zoning, and you got to get it plotted. You got to do all this, and it takes years and years and years to do that. And you know what? It costs you millions and millions of dollars to do this. And then we hit a wall. All of a sudden, things have changed from 2021 to 2025. And the builders got all this land, and it's still costing them millions and millions and millions of dollars. So they are desperate to get out from under this land. They'll sell the house and make no money to get rid of the payment. And they're really good at it. These guys are professional marketers. They're good. So let's look at this. So here, I just got this the other day. And what this is saying is that they're telling you where this is at. This is a great mortgage. I went and whited that out so you didn't see it. And their lender. So the builder has their own lender. They're connected to them. They're part of their organization, and they're offering a 2-1 buy down. So they're getting a first year at 4 5/8, the second year at 5 5/8, and a third year at 6 5/8. And this is at this sales office today. So they can get a 2-1 buy down and save themselves some money. Now, I'm going to tell you, a $400,000 at 4 5/8 is $2,000, and at 6 5/8 it's $2,586. Now, let me just talk to you about this. Why do you suppose they're taking the buy down? Do you suppose it's that can't afford the $2,600 principal and interest that it is? And do you know how fast 2 years go by? Now, I'm going to tell you, in 2022, it was pretty cool. Man, we were selling houses like crazy. You didn't even have to do anything. You get 25, 30 offers come in. People were excited to buy the properties. 2025, not so much. And we're starting to see prices go backwards. So let's just talk about what's going to happen to these guys. They bought a property. Let's say they bought this in 2023. And prices are coming down. We are hearing from people who took these buy downs. There was the lenders were saying, rates are coming down. So what you want to do is marry the house and rent the rate, and we'll refinance you. Well, here's the sticking point of this. If the prices come down, you can't refinance because they're not going to refinance at 95% loan to value. Not going to happen. They're going to refinance at 70, 75, maybe 80, but probably 70 or 75%. Now, most of these guys have no equity in the property. And when they get in trouble because they couldn't afford the full payment, the builder put them in at two payments down, 2% down to make it easy to get them in. And who was the lender on this? It wasn't a private lender. This was the builder's lender. It's going on right now. FHA is even worse. This at least is conventional. They probably put 5% down. But if they go bad, there is no equity for this. So if they're buying a property now, they're in trouble. So let me be even worse than I normally am. What's the value of the property? They're paying $450,000 for it. But these buyers, they're typically first-time home buyers. They're taking all their money, scraping it together, probably borrowing from mom and dad to get their down payment put together. And the builder gives them washer, dryer, refrigerator, all the window treatments, front and back landscaping, gives them garage opener, gives them window treatments. Why is that? And then they buy the rates down. They buy the rates down, 3-2-1, and in a permanent buy down. This costs them enormous amounts of money. They need to get out of that lot. They need to get out of land. They'll do anything they can. Now you can see the builders are selling like crazy. They're the best place if you're going to buy. You need to talk to a builder. Well, we had a few builders just did their analysts quarterly, and they're not making any money. That's because there's no profit left in this. Now, I had an agent come to me and said, I just bought a property for a client, and there was $65,000 to $100,000 in concessions on the two properties that were offered to him. So if you're paying $450,000 for a property, let's just say $450,000, and there's $65,000 in concession. So the price is $450,000, but you have $65,000 in concession. What's the value? So price is what you pay and value is what you receive. What's the value? Well, if you went to sell the property, you buy the property on Sunday, and on Monday you just got transferred. You had a big fight with your wife. You're going to get divorced. Someone's had an accident. They're sick. I need to sell the house. I just bought it for $450,000 and got all these concessions put in. What do you think the house is worth? Well, it's not worth what they paid for it. I'll tell you that, because these concessions go away. Now, if you're buying an existing home, you expect to have a washer and dryer and refrigerator and, window treatments and all that put in. So the value of that property, if they pay $450,000, is probably $65,000 back of that, maybe like $385,000. Well, that's a lot to swallow, particularly if you only put 3.5% down and financed your mortgage insurance premium. That means that you are severely underwater. Now, there's lots and lots and lots of buyers. I'm not saying these buyers are doing anything wrong. If you're going to buy, make sure you can really afford this thing. Now, remember, there's a big difference between buying a family home and buying a discretionary rental as an investment. Homes have a lot of intrinsic value. There is you cannot put a number on the value of having your children sleep in their own room every night and get to know the neighbors and set down roots and know that you're going to be here for 20 or 30 years. Plus, it's a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. America is the only place in the entire world that you can get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. What a great gift that is. So you need to make a decision when you go in. Am I going to take all these concessions, or am I going to take the value? It's a really tough decision. I would say you really need to think of someone who really has an idea how this is going to work for you so they can explain it. whatever you do, don't go into these properties unrepresented, because you've got a builder rep. And who do you think the lender works for? You're like going to like a lamb to slaughter. So make sure you take a broker with you. Make sure you have a broker that understands exactly what's going on and is on your side. Remember, when you're a fiduciary like myself, when we represent investors, there isn't two sides to the story. Sorry, guys, not two sides to the story. There's only one side to the story, and it's my client side. So the long and the short of this is we have lots of risk in the marketplace. You need to be very, very careful. Now, I'm not telling you if you're moving from Dallas to Scottsdale and you're selling your house in Dallas, you probably need to buy a house in Scottsdale. These are different things. We have to divorce the fact that family needs a home. It's not an investment. We're really good at investments. We also represent our clients, which is, I guess, what we're talking about here today. If you have to buy a house, we're more than happy to help you represent you and make sure that you fully understand what it is and fully understand the risk that you're running. And of course, you want to buy in one of our growth corridors. Let me go to my next slide here and let me see if I can't finish this up. Oh, there I am. That's me right there. If you need to reach me, I am more than happy to talk with you. Oh, where can I put myself in? There we go. My best to you. If you like my videos, give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe. Be careful out there. I love your comments. If you have some comments, please let me know. Love to know your thoughts on this. What's happening in your neck of the woods? I think that we have lots of trouble, so be very, very careful. Be careful what you do. Fortunes are going to be made very, 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 very soon. So if you missed the run-up, we've got another one coming better than before, because we're going to be in charge. There are now 500,000 more sellers than buyers, and we're buyers. So that's really good news for us. So my very best to you guys. Bye-bye now.